On my third day driving for a ride-hailing app, I picked up a female passenger who was completely wasted. Early the next morning, the police knocked on my door at the station. The woman pointed straight at my face and screamed. It was this driver. He raped me while I was drunk in the car. I'm still bleeding down there. Her boyfriend lunged at me, trying to punch me, but the officers restrained him. People at the station started pulling out their phones to record, shouting insults like scumbag and pervert at me. An officer who wore a gloomy face asked, "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" I calmly took off my baseball cap. I even thought about unbinding my chest. "Officer, there's something I'm really curious about. I'm a woman. With what exactly would I have made her bleed?" The young officer taking the statement froze for a moment. His eyes flicked between my flat chest and my Adam's apple. I cut my hair into a buzz cut for safety purposes when driving at night. I was wearing a chest binder, and I deliberately lowered my voice as well. Coupled with my height of 5'19", it was easy to mistake me for a man. The officer cleared his throat and said ID. I took out my identification and slapped it onto the table. On the ID, the gender section plainly read female. After verifying the information, the officer's expression softened. He turned to Aileen Hayes and asked, "Look carefully. She's a woman. How could she have raped you? This must be a misunderstanding. Were you too drunk and remembered it wrong?" Aileen stared at my ID, her eyes practically bulging out of her head. Her face was filled with disbelief. "That's impossible. The ID must be fake." She shrieked and lunged forward, grabbing my collar. "He's a man." I felt it, that strength in the car. Only a man could have been capable of that. "Officer, don't let him fool you. He must have had surgery, or he's some kind of perverted crossdresser." I slapped her hand away and said coldly, "Lady, want me to drop my pants right now so you can check for yourself?" Aileen kept trying to make a scene until an officer shouted at her, "This is a police station. Keep it up and you'll be detained." The system confirms the driver is female, biologically female, with no record of gender reassignment. That settled it. Nelson Mullins's face turned red, as doubt was written all over his face when he looked at Aileen, his girlfriend. "Aileen, didn't you say he was the one who made you bleed? If she's a woman, then why were you bleeding down there?" Aileen panicked. She suddenly clutched her stomach, squatted on the floor, and burst into tears. "I don't know. I fell asleep in her car, and when I woke up, it was already like that." "Nelson, are you even a man? I'm already in this state, and you're still doubting me." Some of the onlookers who had started to leave immediately gathered again. Someone whispered, "Maybe this driver got a fake ID just to harass female passengers." Yeah, there are plenty of sick people these days. At this moment, the officers were clearly fed up with aliens. "Nonsense. That's enough. You should provide evidence before making such claims. Was there an audio or video recording in the car?" An officer asked. I nodded yes, but the memory card was full last night. I don't know if it overrode anything. I'll have to check once I get home. Then leave the equipment here. Both parties can go home. Wait to be contacted. I signed the paperwork, put my cap back on, and prepared to leave. Just as I stepped out of the station, Aileen rushed after me. She grabbed my sleeve, her eyes full of venom. "Don't think you can just walk away. You caused a fight between Nelson and me. This isn't over." I shook Aileen off. "You're insane. Get your head checked." I thought it was just a farce. Once I pulled the dash cam footage, everything would be cleared up. However, I underestimated just how vicious this woman was. Back at my rental room, I was about to export the video when my phone suddenly started vibrating. Non-stop notifications came flooding in. There were hundreds of text messages, and even my social media account was popping up with endless friend requests. My hands trembled as I played the video that was constantly being sent to me. On screen, Aileen was sobbing hysterically. Her voice was hoarse with emotion as she accused me of rape. My shout of claiming to be a woman was cut out completely, leaving only the footage of me red-faced and flustered. I looked like I was trying to explain myself. The caption was horrifying. Ride-hailing horror. Perverted driver rapes drunk female passenger. Then walks out of police station using connections. Victim's boyfriend breaks down on the spot. Police suspected of cover-up. The comment section was filled with hundreds of thousands of messages, all cursing me. Why does a monster like this deserve due process? Torture him to death. I know where he lives. Anyone coming with me? I've got a knife. Today we deliver justice. Castration's too easy on him. Tie him up and let a pack of dogs have him. Let him have a taste of it himself. My phone number and home address were pinned at the top. Even photos of my parents have been edited into black and white. Funeral portraits. Before I could even catch my breath, my landlord called. "Casey, you piece of trash. Get the hell out of my apartment right now. Someone just poured glue into my door lock and dumped feces outside. How am I supposed to rent out this place now?" I tried to explain. "It's all lies. Please listen. Hell no. I've never seen a pervert like you. Forget the penalty.
Pack your shit and get out now.
And the ride-hailing platform notification came in. Due to suspected involvement in a serious crime and the severe negative social impact caused, your account has been permanently banned. Will fully cooperate with police investigations. My job was gone. My home was gone. The whole world was pushing me toward death. I collapsed in the darkness, gripping the dash cam memory card in my hand. As my hand trembled uncontrollably, I plugged it into my computer. The screen flickered, then a gray dialog box popped up. Severe physical damage. Data cannot be read. In that instant, my blood turned to ice. Suddenly remembered Alien outside the police station, lunging at me like a rabid dog. In the chaos, my bag fell to the ground, and she stomped on it hard. Just then, violent banging erupted from outside my door. Nelson's beast-like roar was heard next. Casey, you cowardly piece of shit. Get out here and die. Aileen's sobbing voice followed. She sounded pitiful and fragile. Guys, it's here. That animal who ruined me is hiding in there. Please help me. I really don't want to live anymore. Through the peephole, I saw the hallway packed with people. Nelson stood at the front, thick-necked and scowling with a baseball bat in his hand. Called the police immediately. But before they could arrive, the security door was forced open. Nelson charged in without giving me a second to speak, and swung the bat straight at me. I screamed and collapsed to the floor. Cold sweat instantly soaked my back. Fucking bastard. How dare you lay a hand on my woman? He was completely unhinged. Every blow was filled with pure malice. I'll skin you alive if it's the last thing I do. I could only curl up and protect my head, choking on broken sobs. No one tried to stop it. Someone even stepped on the back of my hand, just to get a better camera angle. They shouted excitedly into their phones. Guys, this is the rapist. Get a good look at his face. The top gifter is going crazy. 10 rockets if you break a leg. Nelson, did you hear that? Break his leg. Beat him to death. Trash like this shouldn't be left to live. Alien stood in the middle of the crowd with her arms crossed. She didn't try to stop them. Instead, she was fanning the flames. Nelson, break his hands. Those filthy hands touched me.
Cripple them.
Kick him in the crotch. Make sure he can never be a man again. The sharp crack of bones breaking made my scalp go numb. The pain and exploded. My vision went black and a metallic sweetness surged up my throat. I spat out a mouthful of blood and foam, clinging to the last shred of consciousness. As I stared at Eileen's hypocritical face, my voice came out hoarse. Aileen, you'll pay for this. She looked at me with nothing but contempt. Pay for it, please. Casey, didn't you think about the consequences when you raped me? Go to hell. Just seeing someone like you alive makes me sick. Finally, sirens wailed in the distance as Nelson was dragged away. He kept thrashing and spat a thick wad of phlegm straight onto my face. This is disgusting. He got my hands dirty. Meanwhile, I was hauled into the ambulance like a dead dog. Just before I sank into complete darkness, I saw Alien's face twist into an instant mask of fragile innocence. Sorry for wasting public resources. My boyfriend just acted out of impulse. He was only trying to protect me. I want to be kind too, but what about me? The real victim? I spent 3 days in the hospital. 3 broken ribs, a pulverized left hand, and a major concussion. Aileen became the most beautiful anti-assault advocate, raking in hundreds of thousands from 3 days of live stream sales. Countless people hailed her as an icon. On the contrary, I became the universally hated rapist, pervert, and scum. My phone was flooded with messages wishing me dead. Even the nurse changing my bandages looked at me with open hostility. She ripped off the gauze that had fused to my flesh, completely ignoring my trembling.
Ouch.
I sucked in a sharp breath from the pain. She shot me a cold glance. Disgust was written all over her face. What are you whining about that hurts? She deliberately pressed harder on my wound. When you ruined that woman, it hurt her 100 times more than this. I wanted to explain, but no words came out. Not long after, Alien came to visit me. I didn't bring Nelson along. She brought 2 assistants and a phone. She was live streaming. The moment she entered the ward, she dropped to her knees beside my bed, sobbing dramatically. Casey, even though you hurt me, I'm a kind person. I don't want to push things too far. If you agree to one condition, I'll write a letter of forgiveness so that you won't go to prison. I watched her coldly, seeing straight through the act. The live chat exploded. She's too kind. Why give trash like him a chance? Queen's got a heart of gold. Aileen wiped her tears and finally stated her condition. Nelson was arrested for beating you and has to pay for your medical bills. And I broke up with him because he claimed I'd lost my innocence. My reputation is ruined. I've lost my boyfriend. I've lost my job. You owe me, I whispered, barely able to get the words out. Oh, you?
How?
A sharp glint flashed through Alien's eyes. She turned to the camera and announced loudly, I want you to marry me. Since you ruined me, you'll be responsible for me for the rest of my life. And you're signing all your assets over to me as a wedding gift. That's what you owe me. I almost laughed from sheer anger. Aileen did not just want to destroy me. She also wanted to drain me dry. Unbelievably, the live chat erupted in applause. Perfect punishment. Make him grind for the rest of his life to pay for it. Aileen is savage. That's exactly how men like this should be dealt with. Say yes, if you don't let him rot in prison. Aileen stepped closer and lowered her voice. If you don't agree, I'll make sure your parents get hit by a car the moment they step outside. I know where your family lives. I even know you've got a younger sister still in elementary school. My pupil shrank. Family was the boundary I would never allow to be breached, and she had just crossed the line. A rage I had never felt before ignited in my chest. She wanted to play, fine. I would play along. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and expensive perfume. Eileen's phone was still recording, the viewer count ticking upward like a bomb timer. She looked at me with those tear-filled, shark-like eyes, waiting for my submission. She had threatened my little sister. That was the mistake that signed her death warrant. I forced the muscles in my face to relax. The pain in my ribs was blinding, but I pushed it down, turning it into cold fuel. Okay, I croaked. My voice was rough, damaged from the beating. Aileen blinked, momentarily thrown off by my quick surrender. She leaned in closer to the camera. Did you hear that, guys?
He accepts.
He wants to atone. I accept, I said, staring directly into the lens, my eyes dead and hollow. I ruined you. I'll take responsibility. I will marry you, Aileen. I'll sign everything over. The live chat went nuclear. Emojis of skulls and clapping hands flooded the screen. Aileen smirked, hidden behind a tissue she used to dab dry eyes. She leaned over and whispered in my ear, her voice dripping with venomous triumph. Good dog. Don't worry, the wedding will be huge. I need the content. As she pulled away, I closed my eyes. Enjoy the view from the top, Aileen, I thought. Because the drop is going to kill you. Discharged 3 days later. My left hand was in a cast, my ribs taped tight. The world outside was a nightmare. I couldn't go home. My landlord had evicted me, and the neighbors had spray-painted rapist on my door. Aileen, playing the benevolent saint, generously, allowed me to stay in the guest room of the apartment she had shared with Nelson. Nelson was currently in jail, denied bail due to the severity of my injuries and his prior record. It was perfect. I was sleeping in the lion's den. You're sleeping on the floor, Aileen said, kicking a thin blanket at me. She was drinking wine, scrolling through comments on her latest video, The Road to Forgiveness, Why I'm Marrying My Attacker. And tomorrow, we're going to a lawyer. You're signing over your savings and any future earnings as restitution. Fine, I said, keeping my head down. I was wearing oversized hoodies, keeping my binder tight despite the agony it caused my broken ribs. I couldn't let her see. Not yet. The moment she passed out drunk, I went to work. My phone had been destroyed in the attack, but I had a burner I'd bought with cash at a convenience store. I dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Make it quick, a voice answered. It was Hex, an old friend from a previous life working IT security before I took to the road. I need you to recover a microSD card. It's physically crushed. Crushed? Casey, if the chip is cracked. It's not cracked. The casing is smashed. Contacts are bent. I need the data, Hex. My life depends on it. Send it to the Dropbox. But it'll cost you. Put on my tab. And Hex? I need you to find everything on Aileen Hayes. Texts, deleted photos, DMs, specifically, anything sent to Nelson Mullins. I hung up and looked at the smashed dashcam card I had retrieved from my pocket before the ambulance took me. Aileen thought she had destroyed it. She didn't know that memory cards are surprisingly resilient if the actual silicon die isn't snapped. The next 2 weeks were a blur of humiliation. Aileen dragged me to bridal shops, forcing me to stand in the background like a dark prop while she tried on $5,000 gowns. She live-streamed everything. Casey is so shy, she told her 2 million followers. He feels so guilty, he can barely speak. But we're healing. She made me wear a suit that was too big, hiding my frame. She loved it. To her, I was a broken man, a source of income, and a prop for her internet fame. Meanwhile, I had moved my parents and sister to a motel 3 towns over, paying for it with the last of my hidden cash. I told them not to watch the news. I told them I was working an undercover operation with the police. My mother cried, but she trusted me. 2 days before the wedding, I got the text from Hex. Got it. And you're not going to believe what I found in her cloud backup. Check your burner email. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and opened the file. First, the dashcam footage. It was grainy but audible. Aileen stumbling into the car. Time, 11:42 p.m. Me. Miss, please sit back. Aileen. Ugh, shut up. Just drive. Then the phone call she made in the back seat. This was the smoking gun. Aileen slurring Nelson? Yeah, I'm coming home. No, I wasn't with him. God, you're so insecure. Look, if I come home bleeding, will you believe I was attacked? Would that make you happy? Maybe I'll just tell you the driver did it, so you stop asking who I was with. She passed out 5 minutes later. The bleeding? It was menstrual. The footage showed her checking her skirt, cursing, and stuffing tissues down her pants before passing out. I watched the video, my hands shaking, not with fear, with pure, unadulterated anticipation. Then I opened the second folder. Hex had pulled her DMs. She wasn't just cheating on Nelson. She was sleeping with Nelson's boss. The rape accusation wasn't just to cover her drunkenness, it was to cover the fact that Nelson's boss had dropped her off at the pickup point, and she needed a terrifying alibi to distract Nelson from the timeline. I looked at myself in the mirror. Buzz cut, tired eyes, bruises fading to yellow. Game over, Aileen, I whispered. The venue was a garden estate Aileen had bullied a sponsor into providing for free. It was packed. Reporters, influencers, curiosity seekers. Aileen had turned our wedding into a pay-per-view event. Nelson had been released on bail that morning. Aileen had arranged it, thinking it would add drama. She wanted him there to weep an object, adding spice to her narrative. I stood at the altar, sweating in the suit. The chest binder was suffocating. The officiant, a nervous man who clearly didn't want to be there, adjusted his glasses. Aileen walked down the aisle. She looked stunning, a vision in white lace, dabbing fake tears. The crowd held up phones, a sea of black rectangles recording my execution. She reached the altar and took my hand. Her grip was iron. She dug her nails into my palm. Smile. You piece of trash. She hissed through her teeth while beaming at the cameras. The officiant cleared his throat. We are gathered here today. Stop. The shout came from the back. It was Nelson. He looked wrecked, unshaven, wild-eyed. You can't do this, Aileen. He raped you. The cameras swiveled to Nelson. This was the peak drama Aileen wanted. She turned to him, putting on her tragic face. Nelson, please. I have to do this. Forgiveness is the only way. Forgiveness. Nelson stormed forward, but security held him back. He's a monster. I stepped forward. I gently pulled my hand away from Aileen. Actually, I said, my voice amplified by the lapel mic Aileen had insisted I wear. Nelson is right about one thing. A monster is standing at this altar. The crowd went silent. Aileen shot me a warning look. Stick to the script, her eyes screamed. Aileen, I said, loud and clear. You asked me to marry you to pay for my crimes. You said I took your innocence. You said I'm a man who forced himself on you. Casey, baby, don't. She started, sensing the shift in my tone. But there's a logistical problem with our marriage, I continued, reaching for the buttons of my suit jacket. And there's a biological problem with your accusation. I unbuttoned the jacket and shrugged it off. Then I reached for my tie. You see, Nelson. I looked at the screaming ex-boyfriend. You beat me half to death because you thought I forced myself on her. You broke my ribs. You shattered my hand. I ripped the dress shirt open. Buttons flew across the altar. Underneath, I wasn't wearing an undershirt. I was wearing a nude-colored, medical-grade chest binder. And right there, in front of the cameras, I reached behind me, unhooked the clasp, and let it fall. The silence was absolute. I stood there, wearing only a sports bra now, my female figure undeniable, the curves that I had hidden for safety now my sword and shield. I'm a woman, Nelson, I said, my voice dropping the low register I used for work, returning to my natural, feminine tone. I have been a woman my entire life. I don't have the parts to do what she said I did. Eileen's face went white, a sickly, ghostly white. She stumbled back.
She?
It's a trick. Surgery. She got surgery. No surgery, I said calmly. I pointed to the large projection screen set up for their montage. And I brought a wedding gift. I clicked the remote in my hand. The screen flickered. The dashcam footage began to play. Every person in the garden heard Eileen's drunken voice. Maybe I'll just tell you the driver did it, so you stop asking who I was with. The crowd gasped. It wasn't a ripple. It was a tidal wave of shock. Then, the screen changed. Screenshots of her texts with Nelson's boss. Explicit dates. Times that matched the rape. I turned to Aileen. She was trembling, shaking her head, backing away. The queen of forgiveness was dissolving into a puddle of panic. You threatened my sister, I said, stepping closer. You destroyed my life for likes. You made me into a pariah. Nelson had stopped fighting the security guards. He was staring at the screen, then at Aileen. The realization was washing over him like cold water. The woman he had beaten a stranger for had played him for a fool. Aileen. Nelson's voice was broken. It's fake. It's AI. Casey is lying. Aileen shrieked, grabbing the officiant's arm. Arrest her. Arrest him. There's one more thing, I said, addressing the live stream cameras directly. The police report from that night confirms my gender. But Aileen used her platform to drown it out, calling it a fake ID. Well, here is Detective Miller. I gestured to the side. The officer who had taken my original statement, the one who knew the truth, walked out from behind the marquee. I had sent him the recovered footage 2 hours ago. He wasn't here for the wedding. He walked straight past me and stopped in front of Aileen. Aileen Hayes, he said, pulling out a pair of handcuffs. You are under arrest for filing a false police report, perjury, extortion, and fraud. Aileen screamed. It was a primal, ugly sound. She tried to run, tripping over her massive train. The illusion of the beautiful victim shattered, leaving only a cornered rat. As the cuffs clicked, she looked at the crowd, desperate. Cut the feed. Turn off the cameras. But they didn't. The influencers she had invited, the people she had manipulated, they were live-streaming her downfall with even more enthusiasm than her wedding. The fallout was nuclear. Nelson wasn't off the hook. He was arrested for aggravated assault. Even though he was lied to, he had still beaten a woman nearly to death. The judge wasn't lenient. He got 5 years. Eileen's life was dismantled. The fraud charges were just the beginning. The charity money she had raised? Embezzlement. The sponsors? They sued her for breach of contract. She was facing 10 years in prison, and the court of public opinion was far more brutal. The internet hates a liar, but it loathes a woman who fakes assault for clout. She became the most hated woman in the country overnight. As for me, I sued Aileen for everything she had, which wasn't much after the legal fees, but I took every penny. I sued the landlord who illegally evicted me. I sued the news outlets that published my address without verifying facts. 6 months later, I sat in a new apartment. It was quiet. My hair was growing out, falling past my ears. I didn't wear the binder anymore. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from the ride-hailing app. Account reinstated. Apology issued. Compensation pending. I stared at the screen. I deleted the app. I walked to the window. My sister was outside playing in the park, safe. My ribs still ached when it rained, and my left hand would never be fully straight again. I had scars, but I was free. I picked up the remote and turned on the TV. A news anchor was speaking. Former influencer Aileen Hayes was denied bail today as new evidence of witness tampering emerged. I watched for a moment, then turned it off. I didn't need to watch. I had already seen the ending. I grabbed my keys, not for a taxi but for my own car. I had enrolled in college classes for cybersecurity. Hex had offered to mentor me. I walked out the door, into the sunlight, leaving the name, Casey the driver, in the dark where it belonged.